we are recording. So,
Okay, here we are.
yeah. And, we were just talking about music and just catching up and yada, yada, yada. But I had, when, when, when we agreed to meet today, um, I didn't know that it was going to be on this like super crazy astrological full moon eclipse, blood moon type thing.
Magic.
Right. So,
Neither
w
did I until you said that. I knew it was coming up, but I was like, oh, it's the day.
yeah.
That's awesome.
And what I can say to that is, we're probably both in the correct life flow that we're supposed to be in because it's
Mm,
a synchronicity that we didn't even plan for.
I
Just
love
kind of like
that.
we just kind of like found ourselves here.
Here we are.
Here we are, right? So like I definitely want to do I definitely want to do a general reading for
Okay,
like everything
the
that's like
collective.
like the collective energy that's happening
Okay,
at this
let's
time
do it.
because when I saw that this was a an eclipse with a blood moon and everything, my TikTok algorithm, once I liked one or two, my entire TikTok algorithm was
Took it over.
astrologers, tarot readers, everything giving their different take on today, this week, and like the next 6 months. And it just went all over the place. Some people were
Mm,
like doom and gloom. Some people were like, no, no, this is like a good release and like just go with it. Like whatever happens is for your benefit, yada, yada, yada.
yeah.
But we are going to do our own reading here, and we are going to be on our own path through
Yes.
this eclipse and through this entire thing. So, in saying that, which deck, which cards do you think would be appropriate for this?
Mm. What is this one? I think it's like Starseed Oracle or something like that, I think would be a good one. So we draw a card now.
Sure.
Let's see what comes out.
Yeah.
All right. Spirit, it is my intention to receive a clear, accurate, and true picture and understanding of the questions asked in this reading. May it be for the highest good of the collective and support the awareness of the collective in seeing what they need to see and moving forward with the most understanding of their present experience at this time. I affirm this reading is protected. I am divinely favored, guarded, guided, loved. What would you like to say to the collective for their highest good? Okay. Oh, that's cool. Weight of the world, boundaries, let it go. It's not yours to carry. And I was, you know how we were talking about Wardruna, and I was listening to a funeral song that they sing. It was like a recording of it. And I'm thinking of the words, I release you from the binds that held you. I release you from the binds that hold you, which feels like what this is, the weight of the world.
Hmm.
I think at this time right now, and especially on this day with this lunar eclipse, it is a bringing to light the awareness of things held that are not ours to carry, ancestral beliefs, learned behaviors, societal stuff, um, paradigms that we live within that blind us from the truth of who we are and what we're doing and why we're here. And that feels also here boundaries. Let it go. It is serving as a blockage and a wall to consciously where we're meant to be, right? The illusions of the mind. And I had a revelation with somebody that I had met where it was brought to my awareness very recently that one of my older beliefs that I didn't realize I carried was that I date people who I feel like have more feelings for me or more how would I word it? that I have the upper hand with. And I scare away or run away from anyone that I feel that I don't have the upper hand with. So this was an awareness that was recently brought to me, and I didn't even make the connection of this energy of this lunar eclipse. And so it's just like that was something that has really driven my life unconsciously forward, and I didn't see it until now. And it makes sense because of this frequency. So at this time, this is a message to be mindful and cognizant and looking for illumination of things that are meant to be let go, that no longer serve, that are relics of the past, antiques, and no longer meant for you. So that's what I have.
The cards don't lie.
I think that's so magical. Ah,
I
and
think
I'm also,
that's right. It's
oh,
perfect.
go ahead.
No,
Yeah,
no,
that really is.
I don't want to continue. I don't want to block your thought.
Um, I had read the book The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, maybe 10, 12 years ago. And I'm rereading it again right now, and it is just night and day from what I didn't comprehend of the words in that book at that time to what it's like I've never read it before. And it's incredible that if we're open and we're looking for the path, for the purpose, and we're connected to the self and not the stories of the mind, that we will go down that path that will just naturally lead to our expansion, you know? So it's just really incredible. Boundaries, let it go. It's not yours to carry. The beliefs of our forefathers, the ancestral passed down lineage of belief of people that maybe weren't seeking consciousness and awareness, right? I think that's the message and the energy of right now.
I
So,
agree. I agree. And to piggyback, like coming back to a book the second time you go through it with a different
yeah,
mindset is absolutely the truth. I've done that with books that I read in like my 20s and even
yeah,
30s. And with I had a completely different set of beliefs about my identity, my reality, everything back then. And it's almost like a different person read it. So
yeah.
diff a di
And it is.
yeah, a different person retained certain things and didn't pick up on other things. And now, since I am actually a completely different person, I pick up on a whole different set of things in those books that now I have kind of like the language, the infrastructure of the mind and everything to understand what it's actually saying
Yeah,
and not only like integrate it, but understand that it's already there. I'm just like reading it. I'm just reading something that's already there, that's already present. It's almost just a reminder at this point,
yeah.
you know?
And that's what it is, a remembrance of
Yeah,
truth.
it is. It is. And it's funny. It's like there are almost like two different kinds of people who are like passing through all this stuff and just to, kind of separate the two. It's just like someone who has let go of all of their, you know, all their fears, their traumas, and everything like that. And they kind of see it as these were lessons to take me to this place where I am now, and I'm ready to move forward with, you know, who I really am, who I'm supposed to be, and just more so remember like my true essence and embrace that. And then on the opposite side of that are people who are just steeped in these are the end times, everything's going to hell, yada yada yada, and they're just ruminating in uh,
Fear
in a reality that I can't understand because I don't have the equipment
to be
to
on that frequency.
be in the frequency exactly. And
Yeah,
I it's almost like seeing people outside of your house, like you're looking through the window of your house at something that's going on outside that is completely chaotic, but your room is super pleasant and it smells nice and there's music playing and it's just like in here's great. But out there is like
I love the visual.
chaos right now. It's true though.
It is. It is, and it's difficult to watch. It's difficult to also communicate with those people and try to understand. But at the same time, it's like an act of like what compassion, right? Because there was a time when I would have questioned everything that I knew, and it was it's all a progression. We're all where we're at. But I do define the two mindsets as, people, right, going back to this book, people who are in the present experience of what is and
Mhm.
just flowing with it and trusting that, I don't know. I mean, for me, and I'm sure your beliefs are similar. The second coming of Jesus, for example, is it's not a man coming, you know, to bring the end or the demise or to swoop up all the good ones and, send
Right.
the other ones down to that other place. It's a rebirth and awakening within that consciousness within each of us, right?
Hmm.
Like Jesus taught the way, and that way is the present moment, the only thing that's real, right? And I feel like when it really is defined as like the collective consciousness that's run by the ego is what is bringing the fear and the demise and the gloom and the doom. But if you're in the present moment and you're embodying just the pure bliss of what is in the now, that is more faith-based, right? It's more present consciousness, closer to the path of what Jesus was teaching and trying to embody, right? Also, that I am, not I was or I'm going to be, but it is the now, right? The only thing that's real. So I think yeah, it's fascinating, and I love that you and I and people on our similar paths are kind of stepping into this path of helping people to see more deeply within the truth of themselves, right? So I think that's the most important work right now is helping ourselves first and foremost to let go of the teachings and the beliefs of what we were raised to believe and what society impressed upon us and all of these things that we box ourselves in with, and to start really seeing beyond those perimeters to truth, right? Which is found within, irregardless. If we quiet the mind, the soul speaks, and that's where the truth comes from. So this fear pandemic is really just the ego running unchecked and just feeding off the ignorance of the collective. It's unfortunate, but I think I'm hopeful that each in their own time will start to see more truth and they'll be led to understanding of the reality, right?
Yeah. I also I have an additional take on that, which
Yeah,
is almost like more mechanical in nature.
of
And
course.
it's what I've observed, especially this year, is just the since the think of it like I think of it like, okay, if the vibration is slowly raising, right? And if you have a core of something that you're vibrating, but the core of something is covered up with all sorts of debris and whatever it has adhered to it over time. Well, as you raise the vibration of the thing inside the core, well, then the outer layers of the shell start to fall off, right? And
Mm,
the debris starts to fall off and starts to reveal the layers of whatever was adhered to the core that you're vibrating.
yeah.
And you can tell you're getting closer to the core with like the tougher things that are starting to flake off, I guess you could say. And
I like this.
what we're seeing right now is like the toughest things are flaking off and also showing us how how tough they've been holding on to this core, and they're they're not like they're not pretty. They're
Yeah.
they're ugly in nature, you know? And kind of the same thing as like if you're rinsing out the bottom of a tank that has a bunch of sediment in it, all of the ugliest sediment is on the bottom of that tank. So as you're rinsing it, as you're increasing the pressure and you're watching the tank overflow and stuff's coming out of the, you know, the port that you're forcing pressure into, you could tell you're getting to the bottom of the tank when you see the most ugly, disgusting soot and everything start to come out of that port. And you
Yeah.
can't tell that it's empty until you see pure water coming out or pure solvent coming out of the port. And there's nothing left down there to be cleaned out, you know? And you can
Yeah.
see that with if you have that mindset, you can see that happening right now in terms of like our politics, certain religious structures, um, certain uh, things that are just being sold. It's like it's being held up right in front of your eyes to show you like this is bullshit.
Yeah.
And um, it's not like it's not as much like, and people will tell me like, well, you know, and you're just going to sit there and do nothing about it. Like what the fuck? Like you're not going to get involved or this that or this doesn't fire you up or whatever. Like how do you not like how does this not give you a rise? And my answer is just like because you don't have to. All you have to do is kind of sit back and observe and watch it happen. And you'll know if you have to take action on something in your life, in your little
Yeah.
corner
Yeah.
that is right, that is morally or ethical or you know whatever it may be. But in terms of like getting mad at or letting the weight of the rest of the world rest on your shoulders is just like
Yeah.
no, you don't have you can choose to do that if you
Yeah.
want, but
It's
really
not yours to carry.
exactly. It's not
Right
yours to
here.
carry. Exactly. It's not your, and that's the thing. It is absolutely not yours to carry. It's just yours to witness and observe and see what's happening, not only
Yeah.
with yourself inside of it all, but also like all around you, because, you know, as above, so below, like what's happening outside of you is also happening inside of you,
Yeah.
and vice versa. But yeah.
Yeah, I totally believe. And it's not yours to carry, right? Because I see all this stuff happening politically and with like child trafficking and all that stuff. Yeah, and it's upsetting and it's horrific, right? Um, but at the same point, it's like a surgeon doesn't go over into like mechanical engineering, right? Because they're passionate. They stick to and they honor and they hone their skill and they do their part in the process to clean the machine,
Hmm.
right? And they let the people that really speaks to that is their calling go and be part of that, you know? So I think it's really important that we really find our own calling and niche, right? Of what we're called to do, what our gifts are, and to really hone in on that. And that's the superpower in doing our part inwardly and, emanating outwardly from that action inwardly. Right. So yeah, it's easy to get wrapped up in it. And I've learned that when I was following the political stuff, it's all consuming and there's no end. And you will get so like wrapped up and bound and upset. And yeah, it's ego. It's stepping into the world and the elusive magnetism of ego that pulls you in that needs the drama, right? The difficult part is to step away from it and to stick on your path and to do what you know is meant for you.
Yeah. I look at it, I look at that stuff as a glamour of
Mm,
sorts because it's trying to get your attention
yes.
to evoke a certain emotion in you. And not only to evoke a certain emotion, for you to invest and buy into that emotion
Yeah.
and move forward on the path of that emotion. And that's something that people don't even understand that's happening in their own life with certain things.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the reasons why I have such a distance between certain people and certain conversations because it's just like I know that the person that I'm talking to right now is under layers of glamour that have pulled them into a belief that's actually not theirs. And now
Yeah.
that belief and that idea is literally driving their lives. And it's actually taking away from what their true potential could be if they just let go of these ideas and this belief. They would
Yeah.
probably be on a completely different line of reality and a completely different path, you know. And but at the same time, I understand why those ideas and those beliefs are pumped into us on our phone because everybody buying into those ideas and beliefs on your phone, which is the greatest glamour tool that's kind
Mm.
of ever been invented.
Yeah.
It's a 24/7 glamour. Like you open up your phone and it's just like as you scroll, each thing you scroll is an opportunity of reality line for you to fall into and buy into. Not to mention
Yes.
all the things that are like that are in front of ads to buy shit, supplements, this,
Mm.
that, clothes, like everything. So I understand and no one, even me, no one is immune to it. It's that powerful that um even when you know what you're seeing, what's going on, you're empathetic enough to have some sort of reaction to it.
Yeah.
But the difference is understanding why you're having a reaction and then how they go about the reaction in the best
Yeah.
way possible, you know?
I agree.
And like
Yeah.
why the reaction, like what was the point of this thing that I'm having a reaction from? Oh, the point was for me to have this reaction and then act on it. Oh, all right. Well, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to get sucked into this
Choice.
glamour. I'm not going to get sucked into this idea. I'm not going to get sucked into um, this belief that is so separate from the one true belief, which is, kind of the thing that's at the core of everything that's coming, like you said, that is kind of like the return of Christ consciousness, which is there's only one truth, and that truth is unconditional love,
Yeah.
and for you to experience that, you have to experience a level of empathy and compassion where you see yourself from everyone else's eyes and what your decisions are doing, what your actions are doing, and how they're having an effect on the people around you and the intimate relationships you're in and everything like that. That's kind of the mechanical way of thinking about what is going to be happening right now. Raising the vibration to the point where it's shaken off ideas and beliefs um, that were there, that were previously there, to reveal this one truth, which is nothing is separate. Everything is united. It's
Yeah.
one big tapestry that everybody is a fiber of a fiber of a thread in. And once you start unraveling one thread, well, it kind of starts to unravel the entire tapestry. So it's like your individual fiber of a thread is just as important and relevant as every other fiber of a thread in that huge tapestry.
Yeah. And I think I like the masculine and feminine perspective here, right?
Yeah.
I'm the more like philosophical woo-woo magic, and you're like facts and rust and metal and mechanics.
I'm the alchemist. I'm supposed to do that.
I love it.
I'm supposed to see things in a very practical, logical way
Yeah.
and also weave in the esoteric and mystical into seeing it into a practical and regular way. But you're right. It's like I enjoy I enjoy the flowery woo woo just as much because
Right?
that's
And
like
I appreciate mechanical.
right, and that's the difference of like the room that you're in right now is beautiful with candles hanging and flowers and vases and colors and everything like that. Behind me, there's a fucking green screen of just a green drop cloth right now with like
I like
something
it.
because
It
it's just
works.
it's but it's so true. It's like even in the room that I'm in, there's nothing hanging from I should say there's one really beautiful picture
Mm,
of the Kabbalistic tree of life that
mm.
has all of the explanations, the names of the spheres, um, the Jewish letters and names, and the paths and the symbols. It's a really gorgeous thing. But to me, that's the only thing that matters in this room because that's how it all fits together. Like everything else is
Yeah.
just like whatever.
It's just la la la.
But
Yeah, I
that's the
like
difference. That's the difference between
yeah.
like the male female like woo woo perspective. It's a nice place to be. It's a nice way to like grasp it all, right?
Yeah.
But like for for people that can't be in that place and can't grasp it quite like that, you can just explain it in like totally practical everyday terms of like things that are in their life and things that make sense to them. And that's just how I see it. That's all,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, no. I I think right, we're here living this life for a reason. We might as well bring beauty and have fun while we're doing it, right? But yeah, that's how I think of it. Like in this space when I'm doing my readings, I like to look around and sometimes like I think it's really pretty behind me. It's an expression of me, but there's so much pretty on this that I see that's important to me, so that I see beauty when I'm doing the readings and I feel I'm in a space that I created that is beautiful to me. So I like that. I like it.
Yeah, it's important.
Um,
It's important to be surrounded in all of that stuff. It's like Damien would say, like
mhm,
if you want a life of divinity and beauty, then you have to surround yourself in beauty and divinity.
yeah.
And
And to go to
that's
beautiful places and
exactly,
to be in that
exactly.
space. It's a
And
frequency too, I
yeah,
feel like.
yeah. So you just set up the atmosphere for it,
Yeah.
which is that's important if you're going to put yourself in that frequency, in that mindset, well then your surroundings should kind of follow suit, you know?
I agree. I agree, Jamie.
The real challenge is can you do it on the subway
Mm.
when it's
I'd
like,
have to just be in my inner kingdom of heaven within.
right, that's
Yeah,
the
that's a learned skill, right? Is finding the beauty within when you're outside is not as beautiful.
yeah,
That's definitely learned. I might
that's
not be the best at it.
that's what truly being awake is though.
Yeah, I'm
That
not
is
there yet.
yeah, it's hard. It's very challenging. It's very challenging. It's very hard. And that just goes back into like that whole perspective of Christ consciousness of you could be in the most disparaging situation and if you can find the reason why in that situation and then uncover like where does the unconditional love come into this situation? Is it such a hard, tough lesson right now, which it usually is? Which, and I'll sidebar from that too. I'll I'll come back to that in a second. But that's truly like how I see it is um it's kind of like it's like you think about like what your space is. It's a ritual space, right? And it's the place where it is the best possible scenario for you to get into that frequency and that mindset where it's just seamless.
Yes.
But for you to go take it outside and say like try and do it in like a crowded restaurant, well then you have this onslaught, this ocean of energy around you that can basically interfere with the process that you're trying to do, right?
Yeah.
But a true uh you know I guess the only words you could say is
Wizard.
master of frequency could be in that situation and just block
And
everything and say, nope, in this little bubble right now, we are the eye of the storm. And in here,
mm,
everything is calm. And in here, everything is the truth. Right. But so
yeah.
I'm gonna pick up that sidebar right
Yeah, you
now.
left this thing over here. What let's get
I'm
back
gonna
to
pick it up, right?
it.
So and this actually goes back to um I like threw a thread to this when you were talking about like this realization you had when you were coming up when you were talking about relationships and
Yeah.
some and certain patterns and stuff like that. And I've I mean I've had so many relationships up until, this relationship in my life right now. And um whether it's been, romantic partners, creative partners, work relationships, all that stuff. I've had so many.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I always thought about was in terms of reincarnation and how many of these people I share parallel experiences with on another timeline and another identity and another reality, and how the roles are shifted, right? And what's happening and that parallel reality, like who I am to them and who they are to me in said situation, in said unique novel situation. And like what's the set of lessons to be explored in that reality, and how
Mm,
do they coincide with the roles in this identity that I am here and the identity that the other person is, and the variables of the relationship that we're in, that we're sharing, and what is the lesson that's supposed to be learned, right?
mm,
So it's like this, like it's like a reality like Twizzler or pretzel of like all this stuff that's just like intertwined. And I've definitely had some very tumultuous relationships in
mm,
some aspects. And I think I've part of me can relate when um you're going through a relationship and um the person's like you said, like you have the upper hand, like the person's more into you than you are to them, so that creates like a safe space for you. And if
safety.
safety, right?
Yeah.
And if it's the other way around where you're like way more into the other person than they seemingly are into you, well then it's almost like you're vulnerable, or you're being pulled off of maybe like the path that you're on, the line of reality that you're on. And like I said, like just going back to that perspective of like, well, nothing is random. Everything that's
Mhm.
happening for you is happening in a synchronistic fashion for a reason. And all of the people that you have had interactions with, relationships with, have all been planned to have a certain thing happen for you and them to learn a certain lesson, for you to learn a lesson from them and from them to learn a lesson from you. But at the end of the day, you're really just one thing learning about itself that took different perspectives
Mhm.
to make the change actually happen. And that thing that happened is either positive or negative, depending on, the meaning that you remember it from, or the meaning that you give the situation. And it's funny because like the meaning can change over time.
Yeah.
When you go back and you look at something with a new set of eyes, like 10 years later, and you look at it, you see certain parts of yourself, like you said, like we were saying with like going back and reading books, you were a different person then. You had a different set of beliefs about yourself, your identity. Maybe you had traumas that you didn't actually like, you know, that you didn't know that you had, that you didn't know how to work through, like everything like that. But like just to sum it up, it's like at any given time, knowing that the people in your life you share probably another existence with them, uh, parallel to this, and the roles are probably shifted. You might be trying to learn the same lesson here that in those parallel in that parallel existence you were trying to learn it then. And
Mhm.
I go back to thinking like that one truth of what Christ consciousness is. And it's just the reality that you have to see yourself from someone else's point of view and your actions and how you're making them feel. And because that's what the actual kind of truth is. It's like we're so good at being locked in our own perspective and our own
Yeah.
beliefs and all that stuff that it's incredibly hard for us to have such a high level of empathy and emotional intelligence to put ourselves in somebody else's point of view and circumstances and life experiences to witness it from their perspective, what our actions are doing and everything like that. So when you kind of like when you can do that and you can kind of see yourself like in real time from somebody else's perspective and like what your body language is doing, what your words are doing, what your facial expressions are doing, you then you start to realize like I have to interact with this person right now as if I'm interacting with myself. And if I'm interacting with myself, then I want the best for myself, no matter what,
Yeah.
right? Anyway, that's my spiel.
I love that. I love the depth of like the deep blue sea that that goes into. Because literally, you just took the saying of put yourself in their shoes and you just went to like the bottom of the ocean with it without explaining the depth of it. Because that's truly beautiful. And it's so true is that we are all expressions of the mind of God having an experience so that it can better understand itself, right? And and it's pretty incredible. Like 20 years ago, 10 years ago, wow, that's crazy to say. That many years ago, dating, my perspective is they're attractive. I want that. I want to have fun. Me, I. And then slowly, like experience after experience, you start to like crack open and like put that narrow, like it starts to expand that there's so much more beyond the ego and what you want and what's for you because there's another soul which is you having this parallel experience of the perspective from them. That's a really incredible way to describe it and also to go forward in pursuit and embodying and living in connections, right, with people. I think that's incredible. I love that. When did you like start thinking like that? Like how did that birth itself in your awareness?
Well, so this is funny because this is how convincing and how extremely dense and tough the human experiences.
Yep.
I had the direct experience of, what people characterize as Christ consciousness, during the height of, like, pretty much the first time I had taken ayahuasca. And it
Mm,
lasted about 9.5 hours, which is a very
wow.
long
That's
ayahuasca trip. Usually they're about
insane.
5 hours, um, and then they're down. But I took a pretty big dose for my first time. And this is when I was 28 years old, and it was like a reset, because it was like the identity that I had perceived myself to be up until that time was was just a story that I was telling myself. And then I saw what I truly am, and how old I am. And then I had what's characterized as like the death experience, meaning you start to have a life review. You have a life review, but you see yourself from everyone else's point of view. So you relive situations that you were in, but you're seeing yourself from the people that were also part of the situation, and you
Wow.
feel how you made them feel by your actions or by your words or anything like that. And it was the absolute
Wow.
most humbling experience that I've ever had to date. I've never had a more humbling experience than that.
I can't imagine there would be one.
Well,
That's incredible.
here's the thing. So I said I was 28 when I went through that. And it took me like a good, like, really shook me up. I mean, it it took me on a ride through the cycles of reincarnation and all this stuff. And you know, eh, I guess before that, I had the idea of, like, going to your final resting place after life. And it was just like, I'm sorry to tell you, kiddo, it's not how this is gonna go. Uh, you are on the wheel of reincarnation, and you'll be fine. You're loved. You're good with, you're me. I'm you. You're loved. It's cool. But um, you're supposed to keep going and having all these experiences and everything like that. So yeah, just embrace it. But the real part of me, I shouldn't say the real part. A part of me just was so incredibly tired. Um, like
Mm.
like eons of tired, like just wanting to rest, you know. So it was like, at the same time, it was very enlightening and eye-opening and humbling and all that stuff. And it gave me a completely different perspective on how to go through life and relationships and my interactions and stuff like that. But at the same time, it was soul crushing. It was absolutely
Yeah.
soul crushing, because it was just like, no matter, like, it kind of doesn't matter what I do, because, like, I'm just gonna get spit back out into whatever reincarnation after this, and yada yada yada. Um, so, yeah, whatever. So I
No
I
rest for you.
I was almost like this incredibly spiritual, like, uh nihilist at the same time for a few years. And this is why I say it's that life is so hard. It's so convincing. It's the human experience is so hard. It's so convincing. It's so dense, like everything like that. It kind of cuts you off from this truth, or buries it under layers of ideas and stuff and indoctrination. Is that my 30s were incredibly, like, as tumultuous, volatile, hedonistic, like, that far more than I was before that point. And because I just
Mm,
got swept up in um in the story of my existence and my life and all the things that were happening and all the people that came in and all the romantic relationships that were part of that time and all that stuff and it was really tough. It was tough. Don't get me wrong. There are I had great times during that as well, but I also had really tough, like heartbreaking times. Um,
yeah.
but again, that's what I'm saying. It's just like I had this experience that people meditate their entire lives to have to experience this moment of unity, of seeing the truth, of seeing that everything is connected and you're not separate from anything, and like no matter what, you are unconditionally loved through it all and everything like that. And I still came out the other end, and I I was a wreck at times. But I think to be very honest, I think a lot of it was because of kind of like that soul crushing aspect of like, yeah, like I'm just gonna get reincarnated to something else, and that's it. And so it's whatever it is what it is, whatever happens, happens, and I'm loved and supported, but whatever, I'm not gonna get to rest. I just keep going. And that really uh that crushed me for like a number of years. And it was something that I just couldn't verbalize to anybody because it's just like
Mm.
you can't you can't tell
It
this to
never
like,
ends.
yeah, no, you can't. This is that because it goes against like every belief that the majority of people that you meet have, so uh and it's not that I was meeting like everyday people that were tuned in like this either. So when I would speak, being this tuned in and having these experiences and talking from these places, I probably sounded like a fucking lunatic to most people, like so out there. Um,
Yeah.
but now looking back on it now, I realize it's just like, no, I was actually supposed to be that voice at that moment, um,
Mm.
actually talking about what the truth actually is. And that, maybe the who's ever listening wasn't ready to hear it at that moment because of whatever beliefs and ideas were running through them.
Yeah.
But now, since the world is shaking loose so much, it's like, oh yeah, that conversation I had with that dude doesn't seem so crazy now, you know. But
So
yeah,
you came out of it. In the moment that you were experiencing it, was there a resistance or like an upset in it? Or was it only when you came back to your conscious, like ego state of mind where you were like, well, that's too much for me, Jamie Pinto, to handle?
it's not that it wasn't too much. Like I got like to go into a little bit more detail, what I ended up um in if if you want to say the absolute bottom or the depths of the soul or out there to the outer reach to the actual limit, that's where I was. I was in a place where I was having a conversation telepathically with myself. So I knew the answers to everything. And I just was kind of having this conversation with myself of the deepest possible questions of like, well, why this, why that, and everything. And then I was getting clear answers. And it was just like, well, one of the things I asked was like, well, what's the nature of God? Why? Why is God? Right. And it showed me this toroidal field that was like going out, around, and back in.
Like a donut?
The donut. You know what I'm talking about. It's
Hmm.
you see it, that's when you slice an apple in half, you see it. It's the toroidal field. You see the seeds in the middle, it grows out, comes back around, right? And that's just That's um, divinity taking form, we'll say. And so it was just like, each one of the cycles of going out and back in was like, it was almost like it was showing me like how it breathes, like the inhale
Mm.
and the exhale of God. And each inhale and exhale was millions of years of existence.
Wow.
And I was just like, well, when does it end? Or when did it begin? And it was just like, well, it didn't have an end or a beginning. It just is.
Isness, the
And
isness.
right. And but and I'm talking to I'm interacting with myself at this point, but I'm also interacting with the one consciousness, the one thing that exists. And it's just like, well, you got to understand, like, if I know everything, if I've experienced everything and everything is together, right? And I can't differentiate myself from anything else, well, then I'm just alone with nothing to do, essentially, because I know
Yeah.
everything, I've experienced everything. And if I'm just alone in this place where I'm just observing myself and witnessing myself with nothing to do, nothing to learn, well, then it's lonely. Like it's just lonely being like the only thing in existence with nothing to do and nowhere to go. So what you're seeing is like in this toroidal field that's like inhaling and exhaling is me exploding into infinite pieces of myself and forgetting that this moment is actually the only thing that exists, that this moment is me in complete unity with no place to go. So it's actually like
Mm.
this almost like a personal hell to be here. So I separate myself to have a fun journey to come back to this. And then when I get back to this, I do it all over again. And I just do it because there's nothing else to do. That's it. This is the only thing that I can do. This is the only way that I can actually enjoy myself. Because if I just stay here totally complete with unity, then I'm just alone. And I don't want to be alone. I want to experience something else. So I split myself apart to experience other parts of myself, and I make it a game and I make it so convincing that I forget. And
Mm.
that's why you're even existing right now. You're just one tiny fractal of this infinite game that I'm playing with myself. So everything that you have fears about, everything that you worry about, none of that's real because this is the only real truth. This is the only thing. When you when you take away all ideas, when you take away all thoughts, there's only one thing that exists, and that's me.
Consciousness.
Complete total unity, complete and total unity of consciousness. So that's basically, what that's what I knew to be true, and that's still what I know to be true. So you can see kind of the positive and negative aspect within that of like, well, we get to go on this journey of remembering, of forgetting and slowly, slowly remembering and coming back together. And when it comes back together, it's like the most massive party that you could ever imagine. It is the greatest celebration, the greatest party that you could ever imagine, right? But it's kind of like being at a party that you've been to in this incarnation, in this existence, at this time. Every party has its high point,
Yeah.
and then everybody separates and goes home after the party, right? And they go on their separate ways and their separate journeys and everything like that. It's the same thing that was happening there. It's just like all the parts of me come back and we all have this grand celebration of like, we're all back together. We're all here. And it's like high fives and hugs and I've missed you and all of that stuff, right? And that's what we want when we go to the other side. We want that experience, all that love from everything else. And then we start to remember that everything else we that's kind of an illusion too, because that's just me and I am them. And then it's just this one whole thing. It's this one whole source. So, you know, I
What are your thoughts? And I think about this often, right? We're all here having an experience in the mind of God, an aspect of God. What are your thoughts? And is Jamie Pinto's opinion on why there's so many universal, like millions and billions having a singular experience of a same experience? So a repeating experience that's very the same, right? As somebody across the world that's having it. What do you think if the mind of God is expanding itself through our experience?
Mhm.
Why so many repeat and like duplicate experiences that are identical?
Easy. I'll just You just have to think about this as like kind of I'll come at it from this perspective.
Okay, I'm
I'm
ready. I'm curious, just your thoughts.
I'm a guitar player in a band, multiple bands. I write songs. I like playing those songs to people. I like performing those songs for people. The song every time is the same, but the set of circumstances I perform the song in is never the
Mm,
same.
mm. So
And
there's always variables and differences.
there's always variables and differences, and I might play the song a little bit better than I did last time. Or
Mm,
from the external variables, I might experience the song different than I did another time, even though it's the same song.
uh,
Does that make sense?
Makes sense. Totally.
Yeah,
I
that's
like
why.
it. I
Yeah.
comprehend that fully.
It's, but it's,
Oh man.
you can even say that, you can even, everybody can understand that in their own lives. Like you might be listening to one of your favorite songs and how many times have you listened to that song? And how many times were your external variables different and
Mm,
things and moments that you were going through um, while listening to that favorite song? That's why people seemingly have almost identical experiences, but they're not. They're absolutely unique and novel, right?
mm.
We just see a similarity there that
That makes
resonates with
sense.
us.
Yeah, and that's like not narrow-mindedness, but just a closed perspective from me, right? It's all the same. Well, there's lots of little details that make everything different. So
Right.
cool.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I like it. Learning's the best, isn't it, Jamie? I love learning.
Is it learning or is it remembering?
Both, yeah, right. I love that feeling you get when you come across something and it just feels like home. Like, wow, this is magical. And it's really cool. Like I'll have conversations with people where I'll just be talking my baseline normal Natalie talk, and then somebody will just look at me and they're like, "Wow, I love the way your mind works." I'm just like, but it's just like it's just is.
Hmm.
There's just like a lack of awareness that like, why I do know some things I guess that people don't understand or like resonate with, and I think it's a magical thing that we have, like you have that gloom and doom and dread of just repeating this, and I have this like excitement of just I want to experience it. Well, not all, not the bad, but there's so much that I would love to understand and embody and see the world through. And I think that that prospect of just infinite remembering or learning is exciting to me. It's like what I look forward to every day.
Yeah, yeah. I I wouldn't say it's I have like I don't have the gloom and doom of repeating this.
Well, your initial dread of that realization, right?
Yeah, I would say that I just had it's just adjusted expectation.
Yeah,
That's really it. It's just adjusted my expectations of experience um in in a balanced way because I don't fall too much to the left and I don't fall too much to the right. I don't fall too much to cynicism and pessimism, and I don't fall so much into toxic positivity.
yeah,
I fall right in the middle of just like it'll unfold exactly how it's supposed to unfold because that's just the way it works, you
yeah,
know? So I absolutely do get excitement and happiness and joy out of
of
life,
course.
but um I'm not pulled into exuberance that I might come across with other people because I guess for me it's like I said, it just goes back to my expectations and my knowing was adjusted so much to a point where it was just like if you fall into or not if you find yourself in like complete and total exuberance, which is a good thing. Don't get me wrong, it's a great thing. That's actually what you're supposed to be in. You're supposed to be in complete and total bliss. And you're supposed to vibrate through this experience in complete and total bliss because you get to. Um, there's still,
Easier said than done, right?
well, easier said than done. Absolutely. You, I guess from my perspective and my experience and my point of view and my immediate world, um, I am surrounded by cynicism and pessimism
Mhm.
in so many situations in my life. And I can only come to the reason why is because I'm supposed to be the bliss aspect inside of it all to present a perspective of like, well, your perspective of doom and gloom and pessimism isn't all there is. There's actually this other side that you're not seeing, you
And
know?
I'm
So
like as you're explaining that, I'm like getting the visualization of like you being a candle and then just blackness around you,
totally.
and like how a forest fire can just start from a little speck of a chain dragging behind a car, right? Light is so much more powerful than the dark. No matter how much of the dark there is, that
Mhm.
little flame, if you shine it on somebody, their face is going to light up in some aspect, right?
Truly. And you have to
And they're going to
remember,
take that on some level.
you can't see the shadow without light.
It's true. It's so
So
true.
that's the double-edged sword that I'm talking about.
Jamie,
It's like
my mind is so funny. Have you seen the like what is it? The computer animated what is it? The A Christmas Carol with Jim Carrey as the voice. And it's like I'm sure somebody listening will think, but there's like a candle that comes to visit him, which is, I don't know if it's the past or present or future, but I'm just seeing Jamie and like the candle and the flame is like your face.
I
My,
haven't seen
it's
it,
like
but
very visual.
now
Oh, that's
I'm gonna
funny.
find it today and I'll watch it. I'll find it.
I'll send it to you. Oh, okay, continue.
No, that's I think that's the truth though. It's like once you shine a light on things, inevitably, uh, that's when you find the shadows as well. You
Yeah.
know, and that's the part of um that's the part that's hard for everyone to grip is that they have the capacity to be shadow. They have the capacity to think dark thoughts or have um, dark intention or um, feel impelled to do dark things. And that's
Yeah.
just the shadow side of this experience. And, um, like, here's a take that's going to be really tough for people listening right now to uh to grab onto, right? This is incredibly tough.
So,
Remember how you said, like, you go down, you if you go down the internet hole and you go down the political hole, and like you'll at some point soon you're gonna come across like the child sex trafficking thing, like the human trafficking thing and everything like that,
yeah.
right? And we see that as just like the darkest of the dark, because it is, right? Now, remembering what I just said about unity splitting itself apart in infinite pieces and then degrees of positive and negative. Well, then you're going to have degrees of the most positive and degrees of the most negative, meaning the
Okay.
lightest of the light, the darkest of the dark, right? And what if, um, and I can't prove this, I can't, there's no way for me to prove this or anything like that, but what if these experiences that are happening are just a balancing out of certain things, meaning somebody who is absolutely horrific in a lifetime. They murder people. They they they've committed rape, everything, like all the bad things. What if they come back the next life as a victim of all of that to understand
Mhm. The other perspective.
the other
Yeah.
perspective and experience it so viscerally, you know? And that's why,
Yeah.
I stand back and people are like, well, how do you, like, it's like I said, it's that perspective. Like, how does this not infuriate you? And it's like, well, it does.
Absolutely.
But you also have to understand where I've been and how I see. And when you zoom out and zoom out and zoom out and zoom out and zoom out, what you actually start to see. So it's like maybe this is playing out for it to end. And I'm not saying it's not horrific. It is absolutely horrific. It is absolutely the darkest of the dark on
Yeah.
this, in this human experience. It really is. To see innocence just completely taken advantage of and everything like that. But like I said, also when you're cleaning out something, you're getting to the bottom when you start to see all of the darkest, thickest matter, the densest matter that was sticking to the bottom come up to the top.
Yeah.
And I think that is what we're experiencing because uh, since rising, the vibration's rising to a point where that, the toroidal field, that breath, right? So if you can think of one breath as just like one revolution, let's think of we are here. We're almost at the exact point where everything starts to come back together. So it's only at that point that the breath, the polarity is on opposite ends of the spectrum, right? And it's this entire like sprinkler system that's like, you know, but it's at the absolute farthest end of the field, making a perfect circle of polarity on that spectrum. And in that polarity, around that perfect circle of opposites, is when you see the absolute extremes of positive and negative. And then once it passes that and starts to go around the bottom and like come back up, or even shooting at the bottom and coming back in, right?
Yeah.
That's what we're seeing right now. So it's like these situations of extreme opposites and more so like oppression, right? I think that these are themes that were played out in other experiments millions of years ago on other planets, in on other
Mm,
timelines and everything. And I think that it just kind of happened to all come to a head on the Earth experience for it to um, work itself out in a way that it doesn't need to repeat those experiments or those experiences again. Right. So
let's hope, right?
yeah, so it's like that one mind that says, well, I split myself apart in infinite pieces to forget who I am and remember who and go through the experience of remembering who I am. Don't you think that infinite mind goes, I don't need to live that experience again. I don't need to have that experience again because I already had it. So what we're seeing is that's why we're seeing all of this stuff kind of come into the light now. We're seeing the shadows because we're shining light
Mm,
on certain things and we're seeing the darkness. We're seeing that this has been behind the fabric that has been the illusion that has been in front of us the entire time of whatever it may be that like how they want you to think about the world, right? So it's like I I don't know what's going to happen, but I know that um, beyond the shadow of a doubt, no illusion remains forever. All illusions break apart because the
mhm.
illusion is not a truth. So I think in years to come, especially the latter half of this year into next year, we're going to start to see that illusion break apart even more. And we're going to start to see even more of a difference of shadow and light, you know. But it's okay because that's the that's what needs to happen. That's the process that everything needs to go through to actually end up on the other side of this. It's,
Yeah.
one thing I've heard, um, psychics, mediums, everything say on YouTube is like this is like a birthing process, and like the miracle of birth is like
Painful.
it's just as traumatic as it is beautiful,
Yeah.
you know? And that's the thing. It's just like that's exactly what's happening. We're going it's like all the traumatic things are happening um to just be done with it, you know?
Yeah, I actually, it's funny you had mentioned that, like this topic being very difficult to swallow and comprehend and be okay with, right? And I don't think anyone's okay with it to watch suffering. But if God is here having an expression of itself through all of our experiences, how can there be blissful without the horrific, right? It's an equal part of it. And it doesn't mean that we're happy that it's, we're not experiencing it and it's somebody else. Like we might experience an aspect of that horrific nature, and some of us have throughout our life. But my son was saying that same thing. He's like, how can God allow such horrific things to happen to people? And I said, and I used an experience of something that had happened to me when I was younger. And I said, well, this horrific thing happened, but because of that horrific thing, it led to this and that and this and that. And then Natalie is who she is today because of that stuff. And the candle just went out. So I feel like it's confirmation that I'm talking about this. But it was literally a conversation we had maybe 3 days ago. And I said, these horrific experiences are meant to happen for a reason. And it's possibly reasons that our egoic minds can't comprehend, because the effects and the branching off of the purpose of it will be divulged and revealed maybe in decades or many lifetimes beyond our experience. It's more advanced and in depth than our minds can comprehend with our limited way of seeing the things, you know? So it makes sense to me, and it is hard to accept that those horrific things have happened to people throughout history, right? But there's a purpose for it because it's leading us where we are now. And I think there's always a divine purpose, you know, in how things play out and what they reveal and what we learn within ourselves as a result of going through these things and the ways in which they cause us to go this direction instead of that direction or, you know, yeah, I get it. Yeah, but it's, I feel like a tension and like a contracting like in my heart space. So it's like, yes, nobody likes it. Like the Jews and all of like slavery and this horrific stuff, but I believe it has a purpose for sure.
Exactly. Um, and regardless of, you know, what anybody's beliefs are about what the world is, who they are in the world, their identity, um, at some point soon, that is all going to change. Like,
Yeah.
it just is. And that's okay. It's okay because no matter what, um, the truth always finds a way through the
Yes,
illusion. You know, illusions only hold up for so long. And that's actually something to be really excited about.
it is. For me, I think that all the time. Like everyone thought the internet is going to be horrific and scary and it's going to take all our jobs and but really ultimately what it turned out to be is something that illuminated deception in the shadows at a massive, fast scale. I can't hide anymore.
Hmm.
So yeah, there's horrific things that happen as a result, but there's a double-edged sword to every aspect, right?
Hmm.
It's what the user does with it. And I think it's now more than ever, it's so important to understand soul, right? To listen to soul, to quiet the mind and the thinking and the problem-solving personality that you know lives within each of our souls
Hmm.
and to really find soul and to listen to that guidance and to trust that it's true because what we believe is true. What our mind of God creates because we are a spark of God, right? We bring that to life. So believing that the soul is there and believing that the soul is the truth and the light and the way is what will empower the possibility for more people to tap into and to hear it through the noise of the mind, right?
Hmm.
And I think that's what inspires me to do what I do. You know, I say things a lot to people that are uncomfortable. And it's not opinions or like you should do this, but it's just like this is what I see. And these are the eyes that I see it through. And perhaps in your eyes you don't see it. So here, take with it and do what you will.
Hmm.
That choice is yours, right?
Absolutely. I think on that note, we will end on that note because I think that is a perfect note to end on. That
That was good.
ultimately each person is their own creator of their experience, or not even creator, witness of their own
Yeah,
experience that is completely laid out for them by them. You know?
absolutely. And to some people that's scary, but to some it's incredible and it's exciting and it's full of potential and paths and opportunities, you know?
Let's uh let's plug your channel,
Okay. It's Eve's Rising Tarot.
and I will absolutely put that in the description. And
Thanks.
thank you so much, my friend, for meeting with me on this beautiful eclipse blood moon that will propel us forward to the truth. And I look forward to next time doing this with you.
Thanks, Jamie. It is a pleasure to be here as always and to catch up.
Or not. Let me hit stop.